So, it's finally time to go out and buy a camper. What are you gonna get? Huh? What are you gonna get? So we're gonna help you decide on what type of camper you might want. What kind of camper you're gonna need. What camper you're gonna get that isn't gonna turn into a yard ornament. Be right with you.
Hi everybody, welcome to 54 Nights RV.
This week we're gonna talk a little bit about the different types of RVs out there. If you're looking to go out and buy your first RV, or maybe even your second one, who knows. Give you some of our pros and cons of the different styles that are available to you. I think first one on the list is a pop-up camper.
Pop-up camper, that's what we started with after tents.
Yeah, first thing after tents. That's probably the biggest entry-level camper out there. I mean, you see a lot of them. Yeah. Our first one was a Jayco.
Yeah. Easy to tow.
Yeah, low profile, easy to tow. That's a pro right there.
You love driving, being able to see over the top of it.
Oh yeah. Of course, some of the ones they're making nowadays, they sit higher up off the ground, so you can take them off into the bush a little bit further.
Well, it's also good, kind of keep bears from just busting in through your windows too. I think if they sit up higher off the ground.
Short bears, maybe.
Short bears, that's true.
But your typical pop-up or fold-down camper, anywhere from $7,000 to $13,000. One of the cons, and one of the reasons we stopped camping in our pop-up, was setup time. Now, if you've got a family, a couple of 2 or 3, 5, 7 kids, when you pull up to a campsite, it's like a little fire drill. Everybody just bails out of the tow vehicle and they all have their assigned jobs, and you can get that thing set up in 15 minutes.
We had that down, didn't we?
Oh yeah. When you grow up and kick your kids out of the house, you kind of lose that fire drill mentality, and it's just the two of you setting up, and you're talking 45 minutes to an hour just setting up, which not.
Well, it's not just the setup of the camper itself, because the camper comes down on itself. You have to clear off some of the bedding, pillows. Yep. You're going to have a lot of things in totes that aren't going to. There's not a lot of storage in a pop-up, and
right.
Then you lose even some of that when you pop it back, when you fold it down.
Yeah.
So you possibly have a lot of that in the back of your van, in the back of your truck, and you've got to pull that in, and you have to get everything set up, and so it is time consuming. It really is.
Yeah.
If it's raining or it's super hot, it's not much fun.
But if you like that tent feel,
oh, it's wonderful.
Oh my gosh.
Open up those.
You just can't beat it.
Yeah, those beds are wonderful.
Springtime or fall camping, or just a nice mild summer day with those bunk ends opened up.
Yeah, you can listen to the elk in Colorado, listen to the coyotes. Yeah. Now, the bad part of that is you're also going to listen to your loud neighbors that want to stay up till 2 a.m. partying.
The same cons that you had in a tent, minus the sleeping on the ground part,
right,
you're going to have in a pop-up. Condensation on the inside on a cold day, and you've got the heater going.
Your husband waking you up in the morning by hitting the top of the bunk end so that all the water comes down on you.
It was purely accidental.
Oh, I don't think it was accidental.
I
Several
set
times.
up and I hit my head.
Yeah, with your hand. But that, and the light from outside.
Yeah, you got to be careful where you park it at the campground. You don't want to park under the one light in the loop, which we typically did every time, and didn't matter how hard we looked for them. Park ranger would come out and put a new light up. Pop-ups and pop-ups in general are bumper pull trailers, which is the next step above the pop-up is bumper pulls. Bumper pulls you can get anywhere from 12 grand on up to close to 60 grand. And they encompass a lot of options. We had a hybrid which had the bunk ends like a pop-up but was an enclosed trailer, and the rest of it with all the amenities you'd expect. You got toy hauler, bumper pull toy haulers, your standard trailer. You have the residential style, I can't remember what they call them, residential style looking trailers. They've got the peaked roof, and they actually look like a tiny home before tiny homes were thought of.
Like A-frame?
No, but that does bring up the other one, the A-liners, and your teardrops.
Mm-hmm. You could pull some of these behind a motorcycle. You get pretty light on some of these trailers. So
there's a large variety of bumper pulls, and typically you can tow most bumper pulls with a half-ton pickup. A lot of them you can actually pull with stuff smaller, like she said, a motorcycle, a teardrop. One of the downsides to a bumper pull camper is the tongue weight and weight distribution in the trailer can really have an impact on how that trailer reacts going down the highway. If you don't have the trailer level, you're going to end up with it wagging around back behind you, and it could get bad enough where it starts wagging you around, and then all of a sudden you're upside down in the ditch.
Yeah, it's not good.
I have seen that quite a few times. So you got to be real careful about, not careful, you got to be real particular about how the trailer's hooked up and your tow vehicle is capable of pulling that trailer.
And what you need, a weight distribution hitch might be your friend. We used it, and oh wow, it was really good for our pop-up. And did we use it for the hybrid?
Yep.
Yeah, we did use it for the hybrid. Did. And unfortunately, you can't back up with a weight distribution hitch on, but I mean,
with the pop-up campers, they've got lighter frames, so if you go to back up with that weight distribution hitch on, you're going to end up twisting the frame.
It's just the pop-up.
The hybrid, we could do it. Now, there's a very large variety of bumper pull campers, and you really can't, just not a whole lot of cons to it other than you do have the drag that you wouldn't have in a pop-up, the wind aerodynamic type drag going down the highway, and you can get them small and inexpensive up to big and more than your pickup. Moving into the truck campers, the ones that slide into the beds, Lance is probably the benchmark as far as truck campers go, and those are anywhere from 30 grand to 60 grand for a truck camper. And some of you may picture these truck campers as these really cramped campers. Well, Lance has some with slide outs on them now, and they're actually, I wouldn't push it beyond 2 people, honestly, but they're still pretty roomy with those slides.
Yeah, and you can get the outer rooms that come out from them, and that would help a lot too as far as living space.
Yeah, and one of the pluses to the truck camper is you don't have to buy a tow vehicle. If you've got a big enough truck, you could probably pull a trailer behind you with an ATV or motorcycle or whatever.
You can probably store it in your backyard instead of needing storage.
Yeah, and you're mobile. If you've got a 4-wheel drive truck with the truck camper, with the camper on the back of it,
you can go anywhere.
You can take that thing wherever you want to go.
Legally.
With the top-heavy factor in mind, but still, very mobile camper. I can't. You go places where we wouldn't be able to take our motorhome, so that is a big plus right there.
Yeah, and you can do that with some of the trailer campers too with a Jeep. If you get a small enough one, and get some that are,
Yeah.
some of those have some good shocks and stuff that are made for off-roading.
Yeah, you're seeing it more and more every year. They're starting to make campers that are off-road. They're built to handle some mild off-roading. Then we jump up to the fifth wheels, and fifth wheels, $45,000 all the way up to $122,000.
I think they're putting the biggest changes into fifth wheels right now. I think they're the most growth right now.
A lot of innovation in that sector of the industry. Fifth wheels, it's often said that fifth wheels are awesome for full-timers. And if you've been in a fifth wheel, you can recognize that. A lot of storage.
Your rooms are probably more separated than any other type of. I think than any other type of camper.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, just outrageous amounts of storage in them, and they have a lot of them have just that comfortable home feel to them. Conversation pits, a dining
the island
table.
Yeah, the islands in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then the new ones with the living rooms upstairs. I say new, probably been around 4 years or so, with the living rooms being on the high part, and they're nice.
And
what are the cons? I'm sorry, I think I interrupted you.
Well, cons. If you're moving a lot, or you're wanting to get set up, and this is a con that actually applies to the bumper pull trailers and the fold downs, like we mentioned earlier, setup time and breakdown time. If you're wanting to pull into the lake and be out on the water within 20 or 30 minutes, if you don't have the team,
you're pushing it.
And if it's raining outside, if you're in Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma, South Texas, anywhere where there's a more than fair amount of humidity, the very last thing you want to be doing is setting up your camper at the lake on an August afternoon. That's probably the biggest con about all of these trailers, and that is, I think, one of the reasons why you see a lot of them that are just yard ornaments. Might as well have a lawn jockey sitting out there with a rope going from the hitch to his hand.
A lot of campers in general, a lot of trailer type campers in general.
To us, it's worth the setup time and breakdown time when we're going to the lake on a weekend. Where it really interfered with us, I think, mostly was on our trips. If we were heading down to Florida or out to Colorado or Montana, where it would take us a couple of days to get to our destination.
We drive till dark and we're hungry and tired. And
pull into a campground and, well, now I've got to set up only so I can break down in another 8 hours. There were times that we pulled into a campground, even with the pop-up, we didn't even unhitch. We just got it where we could get in bed.
Yeah.
But that's one of the cons. Fifth wheels, from what I understand, I've never pulled a fifth wheel myself, but everybody swears that they are so much easier to back up than getting to your camp spot. A lot of them have automatic levelers on them, so all you do is unhitch and then hit a button or two, and the thing does its little break dance and gets all set up for you, which is a big thing. Then we move into Class B. The Class B is often referred to as a camper van, and it is an RV that is
A large van.
A large van. I mean, it's
Amazing space. I mean, the way the amazing use of space, I guess.
yeah.
To put everything you need in it to live in.
You know, and one of the cons for me is it's a tight space. Of course, I like openness.
We have dogs too, and when you have a small camper and the dogs are underfoot and they don't get to play, and if it's raining, and you know, it's just we like to have this space.
But
with children too.
Yeah, underfoot and don't have room to play. And
right, exactly.
Dogs and children.
Yes.
Did we have 3 dogs or 3 kids?
I think we had both.
But like the truck camper, the Class B van has some awesome mobility. Especially, you know, Heimer, Winnebago now is offering them in 4x4. You can take those places back off in the sticks away from everybody else.
You can park anywhere. You can park at the gift shop. And
yeah. I mean, and for a lot of folks that have the Class B vans, that is their vehicle the entire time. They're not towing anything back behind them. That is their vehicle. They'll pull into a camp spot, and they may throw out their lawn chairs, maybe even set up a tailgate tent or something to kind of mark their spot. And you know, when they're ready to go to wherever it's a tourist destination, or run down to the store and get a bag of chips, whatever, they just drive their camper down there.
You know, there's advantages and disadvantages to that right there, because if you're you know, having to use the gas, because it's going to take more gas, and then you know, you don't have a car that's easily maneuverable up in the, you know, I don't know, the curvy roads and stuff up in the mountains or whatever.
We're trying to park it in Estes Park.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun enough to, well, we had a full-size van.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you know, some of those Sprinters are a little bit larger than what our van was. So I
But
can't
you do
imagine.
have everything with you. If you have a headache while you're out in National Park,
Right
you've got
there.
your aspirin and your Tylenol and your bed.
Yeah, and see that is a big bonus. You're driving through a national park, and you've got the munchies.
You pull over and eat. Yep.
I mean, it's all right there. You don't have you're not like, well, darn it, we left the bread back at the camper. No, you're in the camper.
Right. You have everything you left with. You still have with you.
Yeah, it's a cool thing.
Yeah,
it really
it
is.
is.
You know, if you're a couple, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You have to like each other, because it's kind of small. We like each other.
do we?
We do. We do
Okay.
like each other.
We like each other. Anyway,
Yes,
moving up
Cs.
to Class C's.
And you got your C's and your Super C's, so there's kind of a two subclasses here.
We're not allowed to make the Super C joke.
You just did.
Yeah, the Class C, it'll be on a van chassis or a truck chassis. Only it's just the cab area that is the van or truck part. You know, the chassis is there, but the box is built, and you have an overhang on
Usually. Yeah.
most of them. You can, you know, those are $80,000 to $135,000 for just a standard Class C motorhome.
I've read that those can be difficult to drive. I mean, you guys might be able to tell us if that's true or not, but I have read in the wind, and I'm not talking about Super C, I've heard those are a dream to drive, but the ones on the van chassis, I have heard that they, in the wind, can be pretty killer to drive. And not killer in a good way, killer in a bad way.
And I guess one of the pros to a Class C is typically they're a little bit shorter than Class A's.
You take them a lot of places.
You know, you see guys parking them in parking spots at roadside attractions.
So some of the same advantages as a B.
Yeah, only you got a little bit more space in a Class C because they're wider now. Got overhead bunk.
A lot of them have slide outs.
A family of 3 or 4 would be comfortable in it, you know, and not staying in it all week long, you know,
without going out
in the Smoky Mountain rain.
A lot of the C's have the front seats will turn around just like at the A's also.
Yeah,
to look at that if you're interested.
I've seen that a lot where these the Sprinter
kind of sitting
vans,
up higher.
yeah, and I think even some of the Dodge vans they had them where the seats flip around, which is really nice.
Gives you more seating, more social opportunities.
You can tow something behind it, you know, what RVers call a toad, which is your drive around, your get around vehicle. Motorcycle on a trailer, or
you can bring your toys too.
Yeah,
you have a little trailer with
ATVs,
4-wheelers, yeah.
all that good stuff. There are some Class C toy haulers, or some. I know of Thor makes an Outlaw Class C, which is a toy hauler. They can be less expensive than a Class A motorhome, and they can be just as expensive
it depends
as
on
a
your
Class
brand
A. And
your engine.
having a motorized camper, there's a lot of benefits to it. You know, especially on your journey. You know, on the road heading down somewhere, you need to go to the bathroom or grab something to eat. You don't have to wait until the next rest area. You can just find you a parking lot to pull into real quick.
Make you a sandwich, even take a nap.
Yeah. And I mean, it's all just right there. You don't have to get out of the vehicle in the rain or the hot weather. You know, if you pull into a campground and it's pouring down rain, then this applies to all these mobile RVs, motorized RVs. You pull up into a campground and it's pouring buckets of rain, you don't have to get out. You can sit there and wait it out.
Or a scary rest stop where there's people around that just kind of watching you and they look scary. You're security wise. I mean, any of the vehicles where you don't have to get out to go to the back are handy.
I mean, we looked at Class C's when we were shopping, and they were an option.
Yeah.
The overhang piece of it, you know, you I don't know if you actually you do lose some visibility as far as versus the Class A big old, you know, widescreen windshield. Got that overhang hanging out over you, you know, a couple of feet out from the windshield, so you lose some visibility, you know, not down the road, but when you're
got mountains in front of you or something.
But kind of a half a step up from the Class C is the Super C. And the biggest advantage of the Super C is not the price, because you're talking a couple $100,000 for it, but it's on a diesel chassis, and it is an RV specific chassis, where, you know, the Class C, just standard Class C, is a van chassis. The Class A motorhome, the Class A gas motorhome, is a F-53 truck chassis, most of them. Now, the Super C, that is made for a motorhome.
I think it's probably the easiest, the safest to drive. In my opinion, do you agree with that?
And that's what I have heard. And they're nice. They are all about the same length. I think they're all about 37, 38 foot long. I don't.
They have slide outs also, just
Oh, yeah.
like the regular
They're
C's.
just like, and they're nice.
Mm-hmm.
All the
Amenities.
all the pros of a motorized RV, and being on with the diesel motor, you can pull a lot behind you. I have seen some big old monster trailers being, and I all right, I'm back. The camera went wonky on us for some reason. It just thought we were boring, so it stopped.
We're not boring. What?
Yeah,
Crazy
don't
camera.
put that in the comments.
I agree with the camera.
So where were we? We were talking about a Super C.
Uh-huh.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
I like him. High dollar. You know.
$1, easy to drive.
Yeah. And oh,
Space underneath. Wow. Yeah, it's great. Got lots of underneath storage.
you know, the price is the biggest con, I suppose.
Yeah.
Moving up from the Super Cs, or I guess kind of in line with the Super Cs, is Class A's.
That's what we bought. That's our latest one.
Yeah. And you know, all the same goodies that with all the other motorized RVs, you got that with the Class A. You know, Class A motorhome, you can get them new, you know, anywhere from around 80,000, and you can just go up there as far as your imagination wants to go on the high end side of the price. And there's some high dollar motorhomes out there.
And really, quality and storage and engine are your three factors that that are on the bottom to the top. Storage is really lacking when you're down. When you get the 80,000 for an A, it's lacking. It's not lacking for some of the other things, but like your bay storage. The cheaper ones, you have a lot less bay storage than the more expensive ones.
Yeah.
And then the diesels, you have the best bay
Oh,
storage.
yeah, you could.
Your mother-in-law, you could stash her under there. I mean, comfortably put a little mattress under there. And
You do realize.
I love my mother-in-law. I do. Actually, I was thinking of his mother-in-law.
I was gonna say my mom watches these.
My mom doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know that if enough can be said about the Class Bs, Class Cs, Super Cs, the Class A's, driving down the road and everything is right there. I mean,
And you talked about a lot about takedown or setup time.
yeah. No,
The other ones.
our trips to the lake used to, with the pop-up and even the hybrid when we had it, when we woke up in the morning, it was time to start getting ready to go, so that we could get back to the house at a decent hour. In this Class A, we'll go out and drag paddleboards out on the lake on the morning that we're leaving. We'll watch a movie that morning if it's raining outside. We're in no big hurry, and then when we decide to go, it's like within 30 minutes we're hitting the road. Mm-hmm. And that's after sitting at the lake for 3 days with all of our junk spread out, looking like Sanford and Sons out front.
And all of these with a generator. If you stop at a roadside attraction, you can leave your dogs out there. I recommend getting something that will alert you if the generator doesn't work, if it gets too hot.
Especially if you're as paranoid as she is.
Yeah. I don't want anything to happen to my babies. But, I mean, that's another advantage.
Babies or dogs?
Same thing. And you know it. They're your babies, too. You just won't admit it on camera. That's right.
Probably the biggest con about a Class A, and this could apply to some Class Cs and the Super Cs for sure, is size, maneuverability. You've got to think ahead when you're going somewhere. You can't just whip into the local 7-Eleven to get gas or a Big Gulp. You
look at how it's configured.
You got to look at how you're getting in and how you're getting out.
And if you're towing a car, it's even worse. Because if you make the turn a little bit not tight enough, then you have to unhook your car in order to back up. We've been there, done that.
You're not supposed to.
I mean, I've heard about people having to do that.
Yeah, that is the biggest downside to, the longer the vehicle is, the larger it is, the less maneuverable it is. You do start to cut down on possibilities with boondocking sites.
If you go big, if you stay under about 35 foot, you're pretty good with most places.
And then, a lot of people, their big con with it is maintenance. Now you've got to maintain the motor on your camper and the motor on your tow vehicle, or your vehicle being towed. It's not that big of an issue to me. I mean, it's not like I'm constantly having to work on the motor on the motorhome and the motor on my car. Things happen and I have to do, I changed the oil in this thing just a couple of days ago. I mean,
one con is you do have to kind of bring a car. I mean, if you don't, you're stuck.
Yeah, pretty much, because these Class A's, you're not going to be just
run to the store and get
whip down to Walmart real quick and then come back. It's a little bit less convenient.
And then gas. I compare gas as far as, this is something we wanted to mention also, when your mile per gallon is probably the worst in a Class A. Probably even a diesel, right?
Diesels get better.
Okay, but is it as good as a tow?
The gas Class A's,
yeah,
they don't get good. I mean, you can't even. We average around 7 miles to the gallon, and from what I've seen, that is about what people get.
And ours is a gas.
In the gas coach. Of course, you also, when you're towing a camper with a pickup truck, you're going to get less gas mileage.
Not as bad,
but not as bad. Yeah. So that is a con, and that could be a vacation determining con all by itself.
But that could be a wash too, because when you get to your destination, you like to explore, then if you have your Class A, you're pulling a little maybe gas efficient car, and you can drive around in that gas efficient car, where if you're towing a trailer with a non-gas efficient truck, then you're stuck with that truck. When you hitch, you're still stuck with that truck. So that can be a wash, depending on how much traveling you do or exploring you do once you get to your destination.
Yeah. I hope we answered a few of your questions that you may be having looking for a new RV. We could drag this thing on for hours and hours because we just like RVs and we like to talk about them.
And it's important. I mean, we don't want you to get your new camper and sit it in the driveway. Like, we've got neighbors that do that.
Yeah.
They don't ever leave the
just
driveway.
right down the street here that I couldn't tell you last time I saw it out of the driveway.
Yeah. So we want you to enjoy it. Get out there and think about everything before you choose one. So hopefully we helped.
And just like a boat, you might be making payments on it while it's sitting there in the driveway doing nothing. Not so much for Terry and I, because there is no off season or on season for RVing. It's a year-round ordeal for us, but for a lot of people, they only go out during the summer, so then all winter long they're making a payment on something that they're not using. So that's something else to consider too. Look into renting. If you're not sure, look into renting.
Yeah. Especially if
It's
you've never
expensive
been
to
RVing
rent.
or tenting or anything.
It's expensive to rent, but
It's more expensive to buy something you're not going to use.
yeah, exactly. But we've been rambling on for way too long already, folks. So if you're still here at the end, thank you.
Thank you.
You can now get up out of your seat and walk away. If we were helpful to you, hit the thumbs up button for us. If you want to keep up with all of our stuff that we're up to, just hit subscribe.
We're not always as long-winded, so there's something to look
I
forward
am. She is too.
to.
We are this long-winded. Later, guys.
Bye-bye.